Isabella Romano walked into the private elevator of the Morty Lakefront estate, carrying a box of crushed cannoli like a weapon, and the most feared man in Chicago was standing inside, looking like he had just decided to ruin someone's life. The elevator doors had already begun to close when Bella slipped through the gap sideways, breathless, furious, and covered in a faint dusting of powdered sugar. She did not look up right away. She was too busy glaring at the ruined desserts in her arms, 12 delicate cannoli that had taken her pastry chef 3 hours to fill, and one arrogant man in a silver tie exactly 3 seconds to destroy. The cream had spilled into the corners of the box. The shells were cracked. One little curl of chocolate had landed on the front of Bella's emerald dress, right over her heart, as if the dessert itself had been personally offended. "Move," she snapped, because someone tall and dark was blocking the elevator buttons. The man did not move. Bella looked up. For one quiet second, the world seemed to forget how to make sound. He was not merely handsome. Handsome was too easy a word for a man like that. He was built like a warning. Black suit, black shirt, no tie, broad shoulders, dark hair pushed back from a face so controlled it looked carved instead of born. His eyes were gray, almost silver in the low elevator light, and they settled on Bella with a calm that made most people remember urgent appointments somewhere else. A faint cut marked one of his knuckles. His jaw was tight. His expression said he had come from a meeting where nobody had enjoyed themselves. Bella knew who he was before he said a word. Everybody in Chicago knew Adriano Morty. People said his name carefully, as if saying it too loudly might make him appear. He owned security firms, shipping routes, clubs with no signs, restaurants where judges waited for tables, and half the companies that touched Lake Michigan after midnight. Men who smiled at cameras lowered their voices around him. Men who carried guns stopped pretending they were brave when he entered a room. He was the kind of man rich people invited to charity galas because refusing his money felt more dangerous than accepting it. And Bella Romano, who was hot, tired, underpaid, and holding the corpse of a dessert tray, had just told him to move. Adriano looked at the cannoli. Then he looked at her face. "Excuse me?" Bella should have apologized. She knew that. She was not stupid. She was a caterer in a Mafia house, wearing an emerald dress she had picked because it made her feel expensive for one night, while her staff sweated downstairs, and men with guns pretended not to be men with guns. This was not the place to test fate. This was not the place to challenge a man whose reputation could empty a room before his shoes crossed the threshold. But Bella had spent the last 6 hours being called sweetheart by men who could not read a seating chart, darling by women who moved their champagne flutes 1 inch and called it an emergency, and ma'am by a junior capo who had just shoved one of her servers hard enough to send a tray of cannoli into the wall. So she looked Adriano Morty directly in the eyes and said, "You heard me. Unless standing dramatically in front of elevator buttons is part of your whole Mafia boss energy thing." Something changed in his face. Not a smile, not yet, but the coldness shifted by 1/2 inch. "Mafia boss energy," he repeated. "Yes, that is not a phrase people usually say to me. I believe that. You give off a strong no-feedback environment." The elevator did not move. Somewhere beyond the doors, the gala music floated faintly through the walls, all soft strings and expensive laughter. Bella could smell roses, butter, smoke from the kitchen grill, and the sharp, clean scent of Adriano's cologne. She wished the elevator were larger. She wished she had not noticed the cologne. She wished her heart had not started acting like a disloyal little fool just because a dangerous man had cheekbones and a voice made of thunder wrapped in velvet. Adriano finally reached past her and pressed the button for the 3rd floor. His hand came close enough that Bella felt the warmth of him. She did not move back. Not because she was fearless, but because she had learned a long time ago that some people took 1 step backward as permission to take 10 steps forward. The doors closed. The elevator began to rise. Adriano glanced at the box again. Were those meant for the gala? They were meant for people with manners. And now? Now they are evidence. Of what? That your staff needs training, and your guests need supervision. My staff. Bella gave him a look. Do not do that thing. What thing? That thing powerful men do when they pretend the people under them are not connected to them the second those people behave badly. This time, he almost smiled. Almost. Bella saw it and hated that she liked it. You are very comfortable insulting strangers, he said. You are very comfortable looking like you expect strangers to apologize for existing near you. His eyebrows lifted slightly. Do you know who I am? That question is never asked by someone about to be delightful. The elevator rose past the second floor. Adriano did not answer immediately. He only watched her with that unreadable stillness, the kind of stillness that probably made grown men confess things they had planned to take to their graves. Bella shifted the cannoli box against her hip and tried not to think about the fact that her arms were starting to ache. Yes, she said finally, I know who you are. And you are still speaking to me like that? I am speaking to you like a person who has been on her feet since 6 this morning, has 2 ovens failing downstairs, has a bartender crying in the coat closet, has a bride's mother threatening to sue over gluten-free pasta at a charity gala that does not include a bride, and has just lost a tray of cannoli because one of your men thought my server was furniture. Adriano's face lost the faint trace of amusement. Which man? Bella froze for half a breath. There it was. Not anger at her, not insulted pride, not the expected flash of ego because she had embarrassed him. Just a quiet, precise turn of attention toward the actual problem. Bella did not trust it yet. She had known men who could sound reasonable while measuring the best place to place blame. Her father had taught her that with bills. Her ex-business partner had taught her that with contracts. Her customers had taught her that with smiles and 1-star reviews when she refused free extras. A calm voice did not always mean safety. Sometimes it only meant the knife was polished. I handled it, she said. That was not my question, and yet it was my answer. The elevator doors opened onto the 3rd floor. A private hallway stretched ahead, quieter than the gala below. The carpet was deep blue. The walls were lined with old oil paintings of men who looked angry to be remembered. Bella stepped out first, because if she waited for Adriano to go ahead of her, she had the horrible feeling he would not. He followed, silent. She turned left toward the event office, where she planned to dump the ruined box, curse into a napkin, and return downstairs before Sophia sent a search party. She had taken only 3 steps when Adriano spoke behind her. Miss Romano. Bella stopped. She hated that he knew her name. She hated more that she liked the way he said it, as if the name had weight. Yes, Mr. Morty? Give me his name. She turned back slowly. Why? Because no one working under my roof puts hands on a member of your staff and stays comfortable. The sentence was simple, not loud, not theatrical. But a faint coldness moved through the hallway with it. Bella studied him. Adriano Morty did not look like a man asking to perform kindness. He looked like a man deciding whether justice required a closed door. That should have scared her. It did scare her. But under the fear came something more annoying. Curiosity. You cannot kill someone over cannoli, she said. His eyes moved to the ruined box. I was not planning to kill him over cannoli. Comforting. I was going to start with his job. Start? That almost smile returned. You are very suspicious. I am an event planner. Suspicion is 90% of the job. The other 10% is pretending table linens are a spiritual crisis. This time, he did smile. Just a little. It changed his face so suddenly that Bella forgot what she had meant to say next. The smile did not make him softer exactly. Nothing that dangerous became harmless just because it warmed, but it made him look human for 1 dangerous second, and Bella understood at once why powerful women probably made terrible choices around him. She tightened her grip on the box. Do not smile at me like that, she said. His smile faded, but his eyes remained touched with it. Like what? Like you are not the reason everyone in this house looks nervous. Everyone in this house has reason to be nervous. Again, not helping your case. A voice called from the stairwell before Adriano could answer. Bella? Sophia Moretti appeared at the end of the hall carrying a clipboard, a phone, and the expression of a woman who had kept 6 disasters from becoming visible and had no patience left for a 7th. She was Bella's best friend, assistant manager, emergency driver, emotional referee, and the only person allowed to call Bella before coffee. Her dark curls had started escaping their pins, and a streak of frosting crossed her wrist like war paint. There you are, Sophia said. The vegetarian station is trying to become a legal issue, and some man named Lorenzo says he needs to approve the seafood again because the shrimp look arrogant. Then she noticed Adriano. Sophia stopped walking. Her eyes widened, then moved to Bella's face, then to the crushed cannoli box, then back to Adriano. Bella could see the exact moment Sophia decided there was no time to ask. Mr. Morty, Sophia said politely. Adriano nodded once. Miss Moretti. Sophia's eyebrows flickered. She had never met him. He knew her name too. Of course he did. Bella lifted the box. These died honorably. Sophia looked inside. Oh, I'm going to hurt someone. Apparently there is a line. Adriano's gaze moved between them. A line. She told me I cannot kill someone over cannoli, Bella said. Sophia nodded. She is right. You maim over cannoli. You kill over wedding cake. Adriano stared at Sophia for 1 second, then looked back at Bella. You are both like this. Only under pressure, Bella said. Sophia muttered. So always. For one strange moment, the hallway felt less like the private floor of a Mafia estate and more like the back room of Bella's catering kitchen after midnight, when everyone was exhausted and food made people honest. Then footsteps approached from the other end of the hall, and the warmth snapped shut. A man in a silver tie walked toward them with 2 others behind him. He was lean, handsome, and smug in the way only men with inherited confidence could be. Bella recognized him immediately. He was the one who had shoved Jonah near the dessert table. Marco Bellini, senior capo. Important enough that the security staff moved around him like water around a stone. His eyes touched Bella, then Sophia, then the box. A faint smile curled his mouth. There she is, Marco said. I wondered where the little dessert storm went. Bella felt Sophia stiffen beside her. Adriano did not move. Marco's smile faded slowly when he realized who stood behind Bella. Boss, he said, straightening. Adriano looked at him with an expression Bella could not read. Did you touch one of her servers? Marco blinked. What? Do not make me ask twice. The 2 men behind Marco went very still. Marco recovered fast. There was confusion near the dessert station. The boy stepped into my path. The boy has a name, Bella said. Marco's eyes shifted to her. Does he? Bella felt the insult land, not on her, but on every person downstairs trying to make this glittering house look effortless, while being treated like they were invisible. Jonah was 19, shy, and terrified of breaking rules. He had apologized while picking pastry shells off the floor, even though Marco had been the one to shove him. His name is Jonah, Bella said. He is better at his job than you are at pretending to have manners. Sophia inhaled sharply. Marco's face hardened. Adriano turned his head toward Bella, and for a terrible second she wondered if she had gone too far. Then he said, accurate. The hallway went silent. Marco stared at him. Boss? You will apologize to Jonah. A flush rose up Marco's neck. In front of staff? You embarrassed him in front of staff. Marco's mouth tightened. With respect, this is being taken too seriously. With respect, Adriano said, and the words were soft enough to be frightening. I will decide what is serious in my own home. Nobody breathed for a moment. Bella had spent years watching men avoid accountability with volume, charm, money, and fake confusion. She had watched clients complain about her body through whispers and then ask for discounts with smiles. She had watched bank officers call her warm while denying her loans, as if softness belonged in kitchens but not boardrooms. She had watched vendors speak over her until she produced numbers so exact they had no choice but to listen. She knew the shape of disrespect, but this was different. Adriano was not defending her like a helpless woman. He was correcting a man who had damaged the machinery of Bella's work. There was no pity in it, no grand rescue, just recognition that her people mattered because she said they mattered. That unsettled her more than Marco's insult. Marco gave a stiff nod. Of course. No, Adriano said. Not of course. Now. Marco's eyes flashed. But he turned and walked toward the stairs. Sophia looked at Bella with the wide, bright panic of someone trying not to scream. Bella kept her expression neutral because she could feel Adriano watching her. "Thank you," she said. Adriano's gaze held hers. "You should not have needed me to say it." Bella did not know what to do with that sentence, so she did the safest thing she knew. She looked down at the cannoli. "Well, if you want to continue being useful, your third-floor refrigerator is about to become a dessert morgue." Sophia made a tiny choking sound that might have been a laugh. Adriano stepped aside and gestured down the hall. "Use whatever you need." Bella moved past him, aware of him in the way a room is aware of a storm before the windows shake. She and Sophia entered the event office, a narrow room filled with supply boxes, extra candles, vendor folders, backup place cards, and one sad folding chair. Bella set the crushed cannoli on the desk and closed the lid like she was saying goodbye to fallen soldiers. Sophia shut the door behind them and whispered, "Did you just accuse Adriano Morty of having Mafia boss energy?" Bella pulled open the mini-fridge. It was a stressful moment. He smiled at you. "No," he bared his teeth politely. "Bella, do not start. I am starting so hard." Bella turned and pointed at her with a cannoli shell. "We have 40 minutes before the donor toast. The shrimp are apparently arrogant. Jonah probably needs reassurance. And I am one inconvenience away from fighting a senator's wife in sensible heels. We are not discussing the terrifying man in the hallway." Sophia folded her arms. "Fine, but when terrifying men memorize my name without introduction, I like to panic briefly. That is fair." Bella took one steadying breath and looked at the vendor folders stacked on the corner of the desk. Morty events paid well. Too well, almost. Enough to keep Romano's Lakefront catering open another 3 months if tonight went smoothly. Maybe 4 if she delayed repairs on the south oven and begged the fish supplier for another extension. The business had been her grandmother's first, then her mother's, then hers after everyone else decided it was too much work for too little profit. It sat on the edge of the lake, bright and stubborn, with chipped blue paint, good food, loyal old customers, and debt that woke Bella up at 3 in the morning. Bella loved it, with a kind of devotion that made no financial sense. That was how love usually worked. Sophia moved beside her and lowered her voice. "Are you okay?" Bella knew what she meant. The shove, Marco's tone, the way his eyes had moved over Bella's body earlier, pausing on her hips, her stomach, her arms, as if sighs gave him permission to narrate her into something smaller. Bella reached for a clean napkin and wiped powdered sugar from her dress. "I'm fine." Sophia gave her a look. Bella sighed. "I am annoyed. There is a difference. Sometimes." Before Bella could answer, voices approached outside the door. Sophia went quiet. Bella lifted a finger to her lips, though she did not know why. Something in the voices made her body choose silence before her mind understood the reason. The event office shared a wall with the private sunroom. The old estate had strange acoustics, a rich person's maze of hidden service halls, thin decorative panels, and vents that carried secrets better than air. Bella had already heard a woman crying about her ex-husband in the powder room while standing beside the ice machine. The house was beautiful, but it gossiped like an aunt. A man laughed on the other side of the wall. Marco. Bella recognized him at once. "She really made him apologize," another man said. Marco's voice came low and sharp. "Let her enjoy it. Women like that live on small victories." Sophia's eyes narrowed. Bella stayed still. A third voice said, Careful. The boss seemed interested. Marco laughed again, uglier this time. Adriano was bored. The fat caterer talked back and he found it amusing. Like a dog walking on its hind legs. Bella's fingers tightened around the napkin. Sophia moved toward the door, murder in her eyes. Bella caught her wrist and shook her head. On the other side of the wall, Marco continued, "Did you see that green dress? She walked in like she owned the room." Someone chuckled. "She owns a failing catering shop and a pier nobody wants." Marco said, "That is not the same thing." Bella stopped breathing. Romano Pier. The napkin went still in her hand. Sophia's anger shifted into confusion. She looked at Bella. Bella did not move. How did Marco Bellini know about Romano Pier? Most people did not. Even people who knew Bella well barely remembered it existed. It was an old strip of lakefront property her grandfather had refused to sell. Too narrow for most developers, too expensive to repair. A splinter of wood, concrete and stubborn family pride sitting between larger properties owned by men with lawyers better than hers. Bella paid taxes on it, cursed it twice a year, and kept the deed in a locked cabinet under invoices for napkins and oven parts. Marco's voice dropped lower. "Ventresca says she'll sign if we push right. Embarrassment first, rescue second. They always reach for the hand that pretends not to be holding the leash." A soft chill moved across Bella's skin. Sophia's face changed. Another man asked, "And the photo?" Marco laughed. Bella already knew she did not want to hear the answer. Still, she listened. "Sent to the seamstress last week," Marco said. "Private fitting, dress half open, scar on her hip, stomach out, stretch marks everywhere. Carlo got it from the boutique account. You should have seen her trying to look elegant." The room tilted. For 1 second, Bella was no longer in the event office. She was standing in the boutique fitting room with pins along her waist and her dress open at the back because the seamstress needed to adjust the zipper. She remembered feeling shy, then brave. She remembered Sophia telling her the emerald made her skin glow. She remembered taking one photo in the mirror and sending it only to the seamstress because they were debating the neckline. She remembered deleting it from her phone because it had felt too private, too soft, too much of her body exposed in fluorescent light. And now men in Adriano Morty's sunroom had seen it, had laughed at it, had passed it around like stolen property. Heat rose in Bella's face, then vanished, leaving something colder behind. Sophia whispered, "Bella." Bella took her phone from the pocket hidden in her dress and opened the recorder. Her hands were steady. On the other side of the wall, Marco said, "By the time Victoria makes the offer, the woman will be desperate to be treated kindly." A few whispers about instability, a few jokes, a few reminders that people are laughing. "Then we hand her a generous management deal for the pier," she signs, and Project Airlock opens before Adriano understands the route has moved under his feet. Project Airlock. Bella did not know what it meant, but she knew the sound of a trap when rich men forgot the walls could hear them. Another man said, "And if she reads the contracts?" Marco scoffed. "She plans buffets." Bella's mouth curved without humor. Sophia looked at her then, and despite everything, despite the stolen photo, the humiliation, the crawling fear rising through the room, Bella saw her friend's expression shift, because that was the mistake. Not the first one, not the cruelest one, but the stupidest. Marco Bellini thought Bella planned buffets. Bella did plan buffets. She also balanced vendor ledgers by hand when software missed hidden fees. She found double-billed linen charges from memory. She caught fake invoices because decimals looked wrong. She had saved 3 weddings, 2 funerals, and 1 mayoral fundraiser from financial disaster because she noticed details other people dismissed as boring. Before Romano's became her whole life, she had trained under a forensic accountant who told her she had the most dangerous kind of mind. Patient, friendly, easy to underestimate. Bella kept recording. Marco spoke again. "The packet is in the vendor paperwork. Temporary management rights, 6 months, automatic renewal if cargo access disruptions occur. She signs, Ventresca files, Victoria moves the first shipment within 10 days. Adriano takes the loss, the council questions his control, and we remind everyone that old blood should have listened to old blood, the other men murmured. Bella did not understand all of it. Not yet. But she understood enough. Romano Pier was not worthless. Someone wanted it. Someone had used her body as a weapon against her because they thought shame would make her obedient. They had looked at her softness and mistaken it for surrender. They had looked at her kindness and mistaken it for emptiness. They had looked at her size and thought, good. Here is a woman already trained to apologize for taking up space. Bella stopped the recording. Then she reached for the vendor folders. Sophia whispered, "What are you doing?" Bella's voice came out calm. Too calm. Finding the packet. Here? They said vendor paperwork. Bella, these are Mafia people. Bella opened the first folder. I know. They steal photos and talk about cargo routes. I heard. They may kill us. Bella looked up. Then help me quickly. Sophia stared at her for one stunned second. Then she grabbed the second stack of folders. They worked in silence. The gala music pulsed faintly through the floor. Laughter rose and faded in distant rooms. Bella could hear the men leaving the sunroom, still talking, still comfortable, still unaware that the fat caterer had just become the most inconvenient woman in the building. Her hands moved fast through vendor agreements, rental receipts, floral invoices, staff schedules, liquor permits, delivery logs. Nothing, nothing, nothing. Then Sophia stopped. Bella. She held up a cream folder with no label. Inside were contracts on thick paper, the kind lawyers used when they wanted a lie to feel official. Bella spread the pages across the desk. Her eyes moved quickly, catching phrases before her fear could slow her down. Temporary operating authority. Emergency lakefront access management. Romano Pier maintenance transfer. Ventresca holdings. Airlock logistics. Shell language hidden under civic improvement language. Management rights buried inside emergency repair clauses. Automatic extensions tied to disruptions no one had defined clearly. Bella could feel the shape of the fraud forming under her fingertips. Her grandfather's pier was not a burden. It was a key. And someone had spent years waiting for Bella to become desperate enough to hand it over. A shadow moved across the frosted glass door. Bella and Sophia both froze. The handle turned. Adriano Morty stepped inside. His gaze went first to Bella, then to Sophia, then to the contract spread across the desk. The room became very small. Bella reached for the folder, but Adriano's eyes caught the movement. "What are you doing?" he asked. His voice was quiet. That made it worse. Sophia lifted her chin. Event paperwork. Adriano looked at the cream contracts. That is not event paperwork. Bella straightened slowly. The recorder felt heavy in her hand. Her pulse had climbed into her throat, but she refused to let him see how hard it was beating. Maybe he was part of it. Maybe this whole house was a trap. Maybe the apology to Jonah had been nothing but good manners before the knife. Men like Adriano did not become powerful by missing schemes under their own roof, unless they had chosen not to see them. "Were you following us?" Bella asked. "I own the security cameras." That is not a no. No. Again, not comforting. His gaze sharpened. "Miss Romano, do not use the dangerous voice on me." "I am having a night." Something flickered through his eyes, but this time it was not amusement. It was attention. He stepped farther inside and closed the door behind him. Sophia moved closer to Bella. Adriano noticed that too. "Explain," he said. Bella almost laughed. One word, like the whole world existed to answer him. "No." His expression cooled. "No? You do not get to walk in here and command answers just because your hallway is expensive. Those documents have my family name inside them, and my family property." That stopped him. For the first time since he entered, Adriano looked surprised. Romano Pier is yours? Bella's stomach tightened. You knew about it? I know every property between my north dock and the old municipal route. Congratulations. His eyes moved back to the contracts. Why is your pier in a Morty vendor folder? That is the question, isn't it? Adriano took one step closer. Bella picked up the cannoli box with her free hand and held it between them. He looked at it. You cannot possibly intend to use that against me. I have had a very successful evening with this box so far, Sophia whispered. Bella. Adriano's gaze returned to Bella's face. Are you afraid of me? Bella wanted to say no. Pride leapt to her tongue, but something about the question was too direct for a lie. Yes, she said, but not enough to be stupid. His eyes changed again. Not softer exactly. Respectful. Good, he said. Fear has uses. Stupidity does not. Bella did not lower the box. Are you part of Project Airlock? The name hit him like a blade. Not visibly, not to anyone who did not watch faces for a living, but Bella had spent years reading clients, brides, grooms, mothers, debt collectors, landlords, suppliers, and men who claimed the check was coming next week. She saw the tiny stillness. She saw the silence land in him. Adriano knew the phrase, but he had not expected it from her. Where did you hear that? He asked. Bella lifted her phone. Then she pressed play. Marco's voice filled the small event office. The fat caterer. The photo. The pier. Victoria. Ventresca. Temporary management rights. Project Airlock. Adriano did not move once while the recording played. He became so still that Bella began to understand why people feared him. His anger was not loud. It did not need to be. It gathered quietly, sinking into the room until even the air seemed careful. When the recording ended, Sophia looked pale. Bella kept her chin high, though her throat hurt. Adriano's eyes remained on the phone. Then he looked at Bella. Who else has heard this? No one. Did you send it anywhere? Not yet. Do it. Bella blinked. He held her gaze. Send it to someone you trust. Now. That was not what she had expected. Why? Because if I wanted it gone, you would need another copy somewhere I cannot reach. Bella stared at him. The sentence moved through her slowly, unlocking something she did not want unlocked. He was giving her the thought before she had to ask for it. Not trust me. Protect yourself from me. Sophia whispered. Send it to me. Bella did. Then she backed it up to a private drive under a folder named Napkin Samples, because sometimes survival required imagination. Adriano looked at the contracts again. Carlo Ventresca is not just a corrupt lawyer, he said. He has handled council business for 20 years. And Victoria? His mouth tightened. My aunt. Bella let out a breath. Wonderful. Family crime. So cozy. Sophia made a tiny, terrified sound that might have been agreement. Adriano's gaze did not leave Bella. You should leave this house. Bella laughed once, short and sharp. Absolutely not. This is not a negotiation. It became one when your people put my dead grandfather's pier in a contract packet and stole my private photo. His eyes darkened at the last words. Bella saw it. The anger. The real kind. For one reckless second, she almost wanted to lean into it. Then she remembered who he was. I do not need you to be angry for me, she said. I am angry because of you, not for you. That sounds like a distinction men make right before doing something dramatic. It is taking effort not to. Try harder. Sophia looked between them, as if watching two knives flirt. Adriano took a slow breath. Marco will be dealt with. No. His eyes narrowed. No? Not yet. Not your way. You do not know my way. Bella looked at him. He almost smiled again, but the anger kept it from forming. Fine, he said. You have a guess. I have several guesses, and most of them end with blood on expensive floors. Your point? My point is that blood makes people quiet. I do not want quiet. I want exposure. Adriano studied her for a long moment. You want to humiliate them. No, Bella said. They already understand humiliation. I want them documented." Something like approval moved across his face. Bella hated that she noticed. A knock sounded at the door. Everyone went still. Adriano turned slightly, placing himself between the door and Bella before she could object. The movement was instinctive, smooth, and deeply irritating. "Who?" he asked. A male voice answered. "Boss, Marco is looking for Miss Romano. Says there are revised vendor documents she needs to sign before the donor toast." Bella looked at the cream folder. Sophia whispered, "That was fast." Adriano's expression became cold enough to lower the temperature. Bella's fear returned, but now there was something alive under it. Not safety, not yet. Safety was too large a word for a room full of Mafia contracts and stolen shame, but there was a strange, sharp sense of possibility. The men who had laughed at her thought she was hiding somewhere crying. Instead, she was standing beside their boss, with their trap open on the table. Adriano glanced at Bella. "What do you want to do?" The question landed softly, not an order, not a plan imposed over her head, a question. Bella looked down at the contracts, then at the cannoli box, then at the door, where Marco waited somewhere beyond the hallway, probably smiling, probably certain that a woman like her could be cornered with embarrassment and paperwork. She smoothed one hand over the front of her emerald dress. Her body was still hers, her name was still hers, and Romano Pier, apparently, was worth far more than anyone had bothered to tell her. Bella picked up the folder. Then she smiled. "Let him bring the papers," she said. "I want to see what kind of leash he thinks I'll wear." The knock came again, softer this time, as if the man outside had suddenly remembered doors could hide consequences. Bella kept the folder pressed against her stomach and looked at Adriano. He had not moved from between her and the door. His shoulders filled the narrow office in a way that made the cheap folding chair, the spare candles, and the stack of napkins look very nervous. Sophia stood beside the desk with Bella's phone still in her hand, guarding the recording like it was a sleeping child. The silence stretched until the man outside cleared his throat and said, "Boss, Marco says it is urgent." Adriano's eyes stayed on Bella. "Urgent," she whispered. "How dramatic." Adriano's mouth did not smile, but something in his eyes warmed for half a second. Then he turned toward the door. "Send him in." Marco entered with the confidence of a man who had never once imagined the floor might disappear beneath him. He carried a slim black folder and wore the same silver tie, now straightened again after his forced apology downstairs. His gaze landed on Bella first, and for one fast, ugly second, she saw the calculation there. Not desire, not even dislike. Assessment. He was measuring whether the joke had worked, whether the stolen photo had done its job, whether her pride had cracked enough for him to slip paperwork into the damage. Then his eyes shifted to Adriano, and the whole shape of him changed. His back straightened. His smile became respectful. His cruelty dressed itself in manners. "Boss," he said, "I did not realize you were here." Adriano looked at the folder in Marco's hand. Clearly, Marco's smile tightened. "Miss Romano has some final event vendor forms to approve. Nothing complicated. The legal office asked that we get her signature before the donor toast because the estate office is closing early." Bella almost admired the lie. It had the right amount of boredom in it. That was how dangerous paperwork always came dressed. Not with thunder, not with a villain's laugh, but with someone saying it was just a form. Just a clause, just a small update, just sign here, just initial there, just trust that the people in nicer suits know more than you. Bella had been fighting that sentence since she was 21. She reached for the black folder before Adriano could. Wonderful. I love uncomplicated paperwork. Marco hesitated, just barely, but he gave it to her. Bella opened it on the desk, aware of Adriano standing close enough behind her to read over her shoulder, but not so close that he touched her. She noticed that. Against her will, she noticed that he left space. The first page looked innocent enough. Vendor access confirmation. Temporary delivery corridor approval. Lakefront staging permissions, words that smelled like flowers and logistics. But Bella's eyes moved faster now, trained by suspicion. The trap was deeper in. Third page, fifth clause, cross-reference to Attachment C. Attachment C missing from the folder, of course. A temporary extension of site access in the event of operational interruption. A management rights reference hidden in a phrase so dull most people would sign just to escape the room. Bella lifted her eyes. Where is Attachment C? Marco blinked. Not needed for tonight. If it is referenced, it is needed. It is a standard document. Bella leaned slightly over the desk and gave him the sweet smile she used on clients who lied about guest counts. Marco, I once caught a bride's father hiding 22 extra dinner guests under the phrase, informal family arrivals. Do not bring me a missing attachment and call it standard. Sophia made a small sound behind her that might have been pride. Marco's face hardened. Miss Romano, this is not a negotiation. Bella heard Adriano inhale very quietly behind her, not because he was angry at Bella, because he knew that sentence had been a mistake. Marco did not. Marco only saw the caterer, the fat woman in the green dress, the woman he had laughed about in the sunroom, the woman he thought could be softened with embarrassment and hurried with authority. Bella tapped one pink fingernail against the contract. Everything with my signature on it is a negotiation. Marco's gaze flicked toward Adriano, looking for support and finding none. Boss, the legal office asked for this quickly. Adriano's voice came low and calm. Then answer her quickly. Marco's throat moved. I can have Ventresca send the attachment later. Bella closed the folder. Then I can sign later. That may cause delays. I am an event planner. Delays are my native language. Marco's smile returned, but now there was something sour under it. You are making this larger than it needs to be. Bella stepped closer, still holding the folder. Her fear was there. It had not left. It moved under her skin like cold water, but anger was warmer, and it kept her upright. No. I think I am beginning to understand that people make things look small when they need women like me to stop reading. For the first time, Marco's mask slipped enough for Bella to see the man underneath. He was not careless now. He was irritated, not frightened yet, but irritated that the tool had spoken back. He reached for the folder. I will come back when you are less emotional. Adriano moved so fast Bella barely saw it. He did not grab Marco. He did not shout. He simply stepped in, and the room changed around him. Marco's hand stopped in the air. Adriano's voice was soft. You will not speak to her like that again. Marco went still. Of course. Say it properly. A red flush climbed Marco's neck. He looked at Bella as though apologizing to her was more painful than a bullet. I apologize. Bella tilted her head. His jaw flexed. Adriano's silence pressed down on him. Marco forced the words out. For implying you were emotional. Bella nodded. And? Marco stared. And for interrupting a woman reading a contract you hoped she would not understand. Sophia coughed. Adriano looked away, but not before Bella caught the shadow of a smile. Marco's eyes were flat now. For interrupting. Better than nothing, Bella said, and tucked the folder under her arm. I will review this, with Attachment C, with my own lawyer, and with enough coffee to keep me mean. Marco looked at Adriano again. Boss, with respect, Victoria expected these forms tonight. Adriano's expression did not change, but the name landed heavily. Victoria. Bella heard it. So did Sophia. Adriano took the folder from Bella, not to remove it from her, but to open it himself. His eyes moved over the pages once. Tell my aunt Miss Romano signs nothing tonight. Marco's face tightened. She will not like that. I did not ask for her mood. Marco left with the stiff dignity of a man who had swallowed poison and wanted everyone to admire his posture. The moment the door closed, Sophia leaned back against the desk and breathed out. I hate him. Bella looked at the folder in Adriano's hand. Get in line. Adriano did not smile this time. He was reading the contract again, and with every line his face grew colder. "This is worse than I thought." Bella crossed her arms. "That is not my favorite sentence." He turned one page. "The extension clause gives them operational control if a shipment interruption is declared near Romano Pier. Who declares it? A logistics partner approved by Council Legal. Carlo Ventresca." "Yes." Bella looked toward the door Marco had left through. "So they create the emergency, approve themselves to fix it, take temporary control, and somehow use my property to move whatever they are moving." Adriano looked at her. This time, the respect in his eyes was not hidden at all. "Yes." "And then frame you for the route moving through your territory." "Yes." Sophia lifted one hand. "I am sorry. Are we saying Bella's nightmare pier is secretly a Mafia loading key?" Bella rubbed her forehead. "Apparently my family inheritance has range." Adriano placed the contract on the desk. "I need to take this to my people." Bella put her hand over it before he could pick it up again. "No." His eyes lifted. "No? You may have noticed. I enjoy that word. This is Morty business now. It became Romano business before it became Morty business." Adriano stared at her, and Bella saw the old instinct rise in him. The one that wanted to close ranks, put guards on doors, remove her from the board, handle it in rooms without windows while calling it protection. He did not speak right away. That mattered. He was fighting himself, and Bella could see it. At last he said, "What do you want?" Bella lowered her hand slowly. "Copies. All of them. I want the contract, the recording, the vendor logs, the original gala payment trail, and every company name connected to Airlock Logistics, Ventresca Holdings, and whoever else has fingerprints on my pier." Adriano's eyes narrowed. "That information is not safe. Neither am I. That is my point." "No, your point is that danger means you should decide what I get to know. My point is that ignorance is not safety. It is just fear with fewer tools." Sophia went very still. Adriano looked at Bella for a long moment. "You speak as if you have had this argument before." Bella's throat tightened, but she held his gaze. "Women like me have that argument our whole lives, with doctors, bankers, landlords, clients, men who call us sweetheart while hiding fees in the fine print, people who say they are helping while moving the chair closer to the cage." The room softened around the words, not because the danger lessened, but because something honest had entered it. Adriano's voice came lower. "I am not trying to cage you." Bella looked at the closed door. "Then do not start with good intentions." He accepted that without flinching. It surprised her. Adriano Morty looked like a man built to win every room he entered, but he took her sentence like a lesson instead of an insult. He picked up the contract and handed it back to her. "You get copies. You get names. You do not get lies from me." Bella took the folder carefully. "And guards? You get asked first. Good. But I am asking now." She sighed. "I knew that was coming. Marco knows you resisted. Victoria will know soon. Carlo already has access to your business records if he has your boutique photo. They may move quickly." Bella hated that he was right. She hated more that her first instinct was to refuse everything just because accepting help felt too close to surrender. She looked at Sophia, who gave her the tiny nod of someone saying, "Please do not make bravery and stupidity share a coat tonight." "One guard outside my building," Bella said. "Plain clothes. No one in my kitchen. No one near my staff without my approval. No one follows Sophia unless she asks." Adriano nodded once. "Done. That was too easy. You gave terms. I can follow terms." Bella studied him. "Can you?" Something passed between them, quick and bright and dangerous. "I am learning," he said. They left the office separately because Adriano insisted no one should see them move like allies yet. Bella hated that too, mostly because it was sensible. Sophia returned downstairs first to calm the kitchen and make sure Jonah was all right. Bella waited 30 seconds, then slipped through the service corridor with the black folder hidden under a stack of linen samples. The gala had become louder during their absence. Champagne glasses lifted beneath chandeliers. Donors laughed at jokes that were not funny enough to deserve the sound. Musicians played near the windows, where the lake beyond the estate spread dark and endless under the Chicago night. Bella moved through the room wearing her event smile. She checked the seafood station. She adjusted the flow of servers near the auction table. She told the bartender in the coat closet that one ruined drink did not make her a failure, and then helped her fix the garnish tray. She found Jonah near the dessert table, pale but working, and touched his shoulder gently. "You okay?" He nodded too fast. He apologized. "I heard." Mr. Morty made him. Bella looked across the ballroom. Adriano stood near a group of investors, listening to an older man speak while his eyes moved once, briefly, to Bella. Not possessive, not obvious, just checking. She looked away, before the warmth in her chest became visible. "Marco should have done it because it was right," she told Jonah. "But we accept progress from cowards when it helps the evening run." Jonah smiled weakly. "Yes, boss." Bella pointed at him. "You call me boss again. I'll promote you to emergency cannoli guard. Is that good?" "Highly respected position." "Terrible dental plan." He laughed, and the sound loosened something in her. Then she saw Victoria Morty watching her from the far side of the ballroom. No one had to introduce the woman. Bella knew immediately. Victoria had the kind of elegance that made every room look slightly underdressed. She wore deep burgundy silk, pearls at her throat, and her silver hair pinned so perfectly it seemed threatened into place. Her face was beautiful in a cold way, all angles and judgment, and her smile carried no warmth at all. She lifted her glass toward Bella in a tiny, almost polite greeting. Bella did not lift anything back. Victoria's smile deepened. Soft fear moved through Bella again. This woman was not Marco. Marco was cruel, because cruelty made him feel tall. Victoria looked like someone who had never needed to raise her voice, because other people had already been trained to lower theirs. Bella understood, in that instant, that the stolen photo had probably not made Victoria laugh. It had made her calculate. That was worse. Adriano appeared beside Bella, before she realized he had crossed the room. He did not touch her. He stood with a careful distance between them, close enough to speak, far enough to give her air. "My aunt has noticed you." Bella kept smiling at the room. "I noticed her noticing. Do not be alone with her." That sounds like excellent life advice in general. Bella, her name in his mouth made her skin warm despite everything. Not Miss Romano now. Bella. She looked up at him. "I am serious too. Do not tell me what to do without telling me why." His jaw tightened, not with irritation, but effort. "Victoria does not attack directly unless she has already arranged witnesses to misunderstand the blood." Bella swallowed. That was almost poetic. Horrible, but poetic. She will smile. She will compliment you. She will offer sympathy. Then she will try to discover what you know. Bella glanced toward Victoria again. The older woman was speaking to Carlo Ventresca now, a sharp-faced man with smooth white hair and lawyer eyes. "And what do I know?" Adriano looked at her. "Enough to be dangerous, not enough to be safe." That sentence followed Bella through the rest of the night. Enough to be dangerous, not enough to be safe. By the time the gala ended, her feet hurt. Her dress felt too tight from 12 hours of work, and her head was filled with contract clauses, stolen images, and the strange weight of Adriano's attention. He did not approach her again in public. He only made sure, quietly, that Marco never came near her station, that Carlo left without speaking to her, and that Victoria's eyes stayed disappointed whenever Bella disappeared into a crowd before the older woman could reach her. At 1 in the morning, Bella stood behind Romano's lakefront catering with Sophia, watching the staff unload the last crates from the van. The city air was cold and smelled like water, diesel, and sugar from the bakery 2 doors down. Their little building sat under tired blue awnings, warm light glowing from the kitchen windows, stubborn as a candle in bad weather. Bella loved the chipped paint. She loved the crooked sign. She loved the fact that her grandmother had once fed half the neighborhood from that kitchen and refused to let anyone leave hungry. But tonight the place looked smaller than usual, more fragile, a beloved thing standing too close to the edge of a storm. A black sedan was parked across the street. Sophia noticed it too. Plain clothes? Bella nodded. Probably. How do you feel about that? Bella watched the driver pretend to read something on his phone. Like I want to throw a roll at him, but also maybe sleep tonight. Sophia leaned against the van. That is growth. Bella laughed, but it faded quickly. Soph, they saw the photo. Sophia's face softened at once. I know. Bella looked down at her hands. She had kept moving all night because work gave pain fewer places to sit. Now the night was quiet, and the humiliation came back in pieces. The seamstress's mirror, her dress open, her hip scar visible from the kitchen accident when she was 16, the softness of her stomach, the private parts of herself she had not offered to anyone. Not shame exactly. No, that was the thing she hated most. She was not ashamed of her body in the way they wanted her to be. She was angry that they had stolen the right to decide who saw it. Sophia took her hand. You did nothing wrong. Bella breathed in slowly. I know. Do you? Bella looked toward the lake, hidden behind buildings and darkness. I know it in my head. My body is still catching up. Sophia squeezed her fingers. Then we let it catch up. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Bella lifted the black folder. And while it does, we ruin lives through accounting. Sophia's smile returned. There she is. They worked until nearly 4 in the morning in Bella's office above the kitchen, a tiny room with slanted floors, old family photographs, 2 filing cabinets, and a coffee maker that sounded like it had a legal dispute with water. Sophia slept for 20 minutes on the small couch, and then woke up angry at the concept of sleep. Bella spread every copied contract across the desk and began building the map. Airlock Logistics connected to Ventresca Holdings. Ventresca Holdings connected to 3 shell maintenance firms. Those firms had paid consultation fees to a dock safety company that had once inspected Romano Pier without Bella's consent. 2 payments matched dates when Marco's men had visited the estate. A third matched a mysterious invoice Bella had disputed 6 months ago. When someone claimed she owed money for emergency pier reinforcement work she had never approved. By sunrise, the shape of it was clearer. They had not chosen Bella suddenly. They had been circling her property for a long time. The thought should have frightened her. It did. But fear became something else when details lined up. Bella had always believed numbers were comforting because they did not care about charm. A liar could smile, but a false invoice had seams. A threat could whisper, but a ledger remembered. At 7:13, Bella's phone rang. Unknown number. Sophia sat up instantly. Do not answer. Bella answered. Romano's catering. Silence. Then Adriano's voice said, You did not sleep. Bella looked at the papers covering her desk. Good morning to you too. I can hear coffee in your voice. That is because coffee and I are legally merging. A pause. Are you safe? The question was too simple. It slipped under her defenses before she could dress it in sarcasm. Bella looked through the small office window at the sedan still parked across the street. Your guard is terrible at pretending not to be a guard. His name is Luca. Luca is reading the same page of a newspaper upside down. Adriano sighed. I will speak to Luca. Please do. It is embarrassing for both of us. Another silence. This one was softer. What did you find? He asked. Bella leaned back in her chair. Enough to be dangerous, not enough to be safe. He was quiet for a second. You remembered. It was a good line. It was not meant to be a line. Most good lines are not. His voice lowered. Bella. Her fingers tightened around the phone. Adriano. He seemed to notice the way she said his name, because the silence changed again. I am coming there. She sat upright. No, you are not. Carlo moved money through a shell company, tied to your business 6 months ago. My people confirmed it an hour ago. That may let them suggest you were involved. Bella looked down at the papers. The room felt colder. I found the invoice. Do not touch anything else until I arrive. Her anger sparked. Careful. He stopped. Then quieter. Please. That one word did more damage than the order. Bella closed her eyes for a second. You get 30 minutes. You enter through the back. You do not scare my staff. You do not insult my coffee maker. Your coffee maker has a reputation. It has survived 3 power outages and a raccoon incident. Show respect. He arrived 24 minutes later, not in the black sedan, not with a parade of armed men. He came through the alley in a dark coat with one guard who stayed outside, and he knocked on the kitchen door like a person who understood doors belonged to someone else. Bella hated that this pleased her. She opened it with flour on her sleeve and a pencil behind her ear. Adriano looked from the pencil to the flour to her face. You look different here. Bella raised an eyebrow. If you say shorter, I am closing the door. I was going to say in command. Her answer got caught somewhere behind her ribs. She stepped back. Good recovery. The kitchen had already started its morning prep. Rosa, Bella's head cook, paused with both hands in dough. Jonah dropped a spoon. Sophia walked out of the office holding 3 folders and the expression of a woman prepared to fight a mob boss with office supplies. Adriano greeted each of them by name. Not warmly exactly, but correctly. Bella noticed that too. Her staff noticed everything. Upstairs, Adriano studied Bella's wall of paper. He said nothing for a long time. Bella watched his eyes move from invoice to company record to copied contract to timeline. He did not skim. He read. When he reached the boutique connection and the note Bella had written beside it, his face became still, in that dangerous way again. Who has the image now? He asked. Bella's voice hardened. That is not where we start. It matters. It matters to me more than it will ever matter to you. So hear me clearly. I do not want men dragged into basements because they saw my stomach. I want the chain. Who stole it? Who paid for it? Who distributed it? And who used it to support the instability story? I want names attached to evidence, not rumors, not broken bones. Evidence. Adriano looked at her for a long moment. You believe violence would make this about me? Bella held his gaze. Yes. His jaw worked once. Then he nodded. Then we build evidence. Something inside her loosened. Not trust. Not fully. But the beginning of it. They worked side by side for the next 3 hours. Adriano made calls in short, quiet bursts, never explaining more than necessary to the men on the other end. Bella listened closely. He did not waste words. He did not raise his voice. He also did not ask permission from fear. When someone tried to give him an excuse, his silence did the arguing. Bella marked company names, compared dates, and corrected one of Adriano's assumptions about cargo windows, because he was thinking like a man who owned docks, not like a woman who had scheduled lakefront weddings during storm season. If the route depends on access between these 2 points, she said, tapping the map, then they cannot move during a public event here unless they want witnesses. They need distraction, not absence. Adriano leaned closer, his shoulder almost touching hers. Meaning, Bella drew a circle around the Morty estate. They need another gala. His eyes lifted to hers. Victoria's council dinner. When? 2 weeks. Bella looked at the map, then at him. That is when she expects me to sign. Yes. Then that is where she expects me to be humiliated. Adriano's voice turned cold. No. Bella looked up slowly. Adriano. His eyes burned. No. You promised no lies. Do not replace them with commands. I will not let them put you on display. Bella laughed softly, but there was no humor in it. They already did. I am not deciding whether I get displayed. I am deciding who controls the lights. He looked away first. The victory did not feel sweet. It felt heavy. After a while, he said, What do you need? Bella picked up the red pencil and circled the second gala on the calendar. Everything. The full contract trail. Carlo's shell companies, Marco's connection to the boutique theft. Victoria's counsel motive, proof that the root would frame you, and I need them comfortable enough to think I am cornered. That is dangerous. So is being underestimated, but at least this pays better. Adriano almost smiled, then didn't. His gaze moved over her face, slower than it should have. Bella felt it like warmth, but not the old ugly kind of looking, not the look that measured her body for mockery, not the look that treated softness as permission. This was different, careful, almost reverent, as if he was trying to understand without taking. Bella looked down first, because that frightened her more than Marco. "You should eat," Adriano said. She snorted. "That was random. You have been awake all night. I run a catering business. Awake is my natural state. You are shaking." Bella looked at her hand. She was. A faint tremor in the fingers holding the pencil. She closed them into a fist. "I am fine. That is not a meal. Neither is concern. But here we are." He went downstairs without asking. Bella thought he had left until he came back 15 minutes later, carrying 2 plates. Eggs, toast, sliced tomatoes, and one slightly crooked pastry, dusted with sugar. He set one plate in front of her. "Rosa said you forget breakfast when numbers insult you." Bella stared at the food, then toward the stairs. "Rosa is disloyal. Rosa is observant. Rosa has been trying to marry me off to a plumber named Dennis for 7 months. Adriano sat across from her. "Is Dennis a threat?" Bella nearly choked on a laugh. "To pipes, maybe." For a few minutes, they ate in strange quiet. The morning light touched the old photographs on the wall. Bella's grandmother stood in one of them, round and smiling, holding a tray of bread in front of Romano's, when the sign had still been new. Adriano noticed the photo. "Your grandmother?" Bella nodded. "Lucia Romano. She could feed 60 people with $20 and fear. She started this place? With my grandfather. He handled repairs. She handled everything important." Bella looked at the photo, then at the map of Romano Pier. "He bought the pier because he thought one day the family would have a restaurant on the water. My mother called it romantic nonsense. I called it expensive romantic nonsense. Turns out it was also criminally useful romantic nonsense." Adriano's eyes stayed on her face. "You could sell it after this." "I know. You would never have to worry about this building again." Bella set down her fork. "People keep thinking money is the opposite of love. It is not. Sometimes love is the reason you keep fixing the roof, even when selling would be smarter." She expected him to dismiss that. Men like Adriano owned too much to understand attachment to a failing thing, but he only looked around the office, at the slanted shelves and old ledgers and family photographs, and said, "My father believed territory was land. My mother believed it was people who knew where to find you when they were hungry." Bella's voice softened before she could stop it. "Your mother sounds smart." She was. The was sat between them quietly. Bella did not push. Neither did he. That was how the middle of their alliance began. Not with trust, exactly, but with pauses neither one tried to fill too quickly. Adriano sent documents. Bella found patterns. Sophia built a second backup of every file and named it recipes, because no criminal ever respected women's folders enough to search them carefully. Luca learned how to hold a newspaper right side up. Marco stopped appearing at Romano's, which meant he was either afraid or planning something worse. Victoria sent flowers the next afternoon, white lilies in a crystal vase with a card that said she hoped the confusion at the gala had not upset Bella's delicate feelings. Bella gave the flowers to the funeral home next door and kept the card as evidence. The first real threat came 3 nights later. Bella was alone in the kitchen after closing, checking the freezer inventory while rain tapped against the back windows. Sophia had gone home. Rosa had left an hour earlier. Luca was outside in his car. Bella had just counted 20 pounds of shrimp when the lights went out. The hum of the refrigerator died. The kitchen fell into a dark so sudden that every small sound became too loud. Bella froze with her hand on the freezer door. Then her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Pretty women learn faster when they are scared. Maybe you need extra lessons. Below it was the fitting photo. Bella stared at the screen. For 1 second, shame tried to rise the way they wanted it to. Quick, hot, familiar. The old instinct to cover, hide, shrink, apologize to no one for being seen. Then something harder moved through her and stood in its place. She saved the number, forwarded the message to Sofia, forwarded it to Adriano. Then she picked up the largest kitchen knife on the prep table and walked toward the back door. The door opened before she reached it. Adriano entered, soaked from the rain, one hand inside his coat, eyes scanning the room before landing on her. Luca appeared behind him, pale and furious. "Power cut to the block," Adriano said. "You are all right?" Bella lifted the knife. "Define all right." His eyes moved to the phone in her other hand. He had seen the message. She knew he had. The rage in him was almost silent, and that made it worse. "Bella," he said carefully, "do not gentle voice me." He stopped. She hated that he stopped. She hated that he listened when listening made her want to trust him. The emergency lights flickered on, bathing the kitchen in dim red. Rain streaked the windows. Adriano stepped closer, then stopped several feet away. "What do you need?" She wanted to say nothing. She wanted to say she needed every man who had touched that photo to feel exposed the way she felt exposed. She wanted to say she needed to go back in time and never send it. She wanted to say she needed the world to stop teaching women that being seen by cruel eyes was somehow their failure. Instead, she looked at him and said, "I need you not to look away because you are uncomfortable." His face changed. So did the room. Bella held up the phone with the image still open. Her hand trembled now, but she did not lower it. "This is my body. They stole the photo. They turned it into a joke. And they thought if I knew men were laughing at me, I would become easier to move. So look at it, Adriano. Not like Marco did. Not like I am damaged. Look at what they thought would destroy me." Adriano looked. Not long. Not hungrily. Not with pity. He looked with a kind of controlled grief that made Bella's throat close. Then his eyes returned to hers. "They were wrong," he said. The words were simple. Too simple, maybe. But they held. Bella swallowed. Outside, thunder rolled over the lake. Adriano took one careful step closer. There is nothing shameful in that picture. Her eyes stung, and she hated him a little for saying the right thing. "You say that like it is easy." "No." His voice lowered. "I say it like it is true." Bella turned away before tears could make a victory out of her. She set the knife down hard enough that it rang against the table. "I want the second gala. You will have it. I want the room full. It will be. I want Victoria confident. She already is." Bella looked back at him. The fear had not vanished, but now it had a shape, a date, a room, a microphone waiting somewhere in the future. "Good," she said. "Then let her enjoy it while she can." Adriano's gaze held hers through the red emergency light and the sound of rain. For the first time, Bella saw not the feared Mafia boss of Chicago, not the man who could empty rooms, not the owner of half the lakefront's shadows. She saw a tired man with violence in his hands and restraint in his chest, trying very hard to become someone who did not confuse protection with possession. And for the first time, Adriano looked at Isabella Romano as if she had not walked into his war by accident, as if the war had made the mistake of walking into her. By morning, the rain had stopped, but the city looked washed and watchful, like Chicago itself had been awake all night listening. Bella stood in the doorway of Romano's kitchen, with a mug of coffee warming both hands, watching water drip from the blue awning onto the cracked back steps. The power had returned just before dawn. The freezers were safe. The shrimp had survived. Luca had been replaced by a woman named Nora, who knew how to read a newspaper correctly and looked far less obvious while pretending not to guard the alley. Sophia had slept for almost an hour on the office couch and woken up with a crease across her cheek and a list of revenge ideas that began with fraud exposure and ended somewhere near glitter glue. Adriano had left only after the lights came back and after Bella made him promise not to tear the city apart before breakfast. He had looked at her as if that promise cost him something real, then gave it anyway. That was the part Bella could not stop thinking about. Not the stolen photo, not the threat. Not even Victoria's council dinner waiting like a dark room at the end of a hallway. It was Adriano standing under the red emergency lights, his coat dripping rain onto her kitchen floor, his anger held so tightly inside him that it looked almost painful, and still asking, "What do you need?" Not what he wanted to do. Not what he had already decided, what she needed. Bella had spent most of her life being given help that arrived wearing someone else's hands around her throat. Help that came with comments about her weight. Help that came with advice she had not asked for. Help that came with contracts written to sound kind while removing choices. Adriano's world was built from control, and yet he had stood in her kitchen and tried to learn the shape of her boundaries. That scared her almost as much as the people trying to steal her pier. Because fear, Bella understood. Rage she could use. Numbers she could follow. But a man like Adriano Morty learning gentleness around her was dangerous in a much quieter way. The next days did not pass so much as tighten. Bella worked, because Romano's could not close every time someone tried to ruin her life, and also because chopping onions at dawn felt better than imagining Marco laughing in some polished room. The catering business still needed invoices paid, menus confirmed, staff scheduled, ovens coaxed, and customers answered with bright false cheer. A woman called to ask if Bella could make appetizers that felt rustic but not poor. A man complained that the lemon cake tasted too much like lemon. Rosa threatened to quit twice and then made soup for everyone. Jonah became fiercely protective of the dessert station, though he still blushed whenever anyone called him Cannoli guard. Sophia kept every file backed up in 3 places and labeled one folder "Holiday Centerpieces," just to insult the intelligence of criminals everywhere. Adriano came to Romano's every morning through the back door. At first, Bella told herself it was business. He brought documents, names, shipping schedules, phone records, pieces of the puzzle that his people pulled from dark corners of the city. Carlo Ventresca had built a legal web so clean it almost looked respectable. Airlock Logistics connected to a dock repair company, which connected to a warehouse trust, which connected to a private security subcontractor that had worked for Morty businesses without Adriano's approval. Victoria had not rushed anything. That was the frightening part. She had moved like winter, quietly, patiently, one thin layer at a time until the road vanished under snow. Bella followed the money through management fees, consultation retainers, emergency repair claims, and one very stupid invoice for marine inspection equipment that listed the same serial number twice. "People always think crime is dramatic," Bella said one morning, circling the duplicate number with red pen. "Mostly it is men failing at spreadsheets." Adriano leaned over the desk, close enough that she caught the scent of his soap and coffee. That sentence would wound half my organization. Good, maybe the wounded half can learn bookkeeping. He looked at her with that almost smile she had started to recognize. "You are enjoying this. I am enjoying being right. Different thing." "No, it is not." Bella turned to argue, and found him watching her, not the papers. The office was too small for the way silence arrived. Morning light touched one side of his face. He looked tired. Not weak, never that, but worn down by years of being the man everyone feared, the man everyone obeyed, the man no one asked if he had eaten unless Bella sent Rosa after him with a plate. His eyes dropped to her mouth for half a second, then returned to her face with visible effort. Bella forgot the sentence she had prepared. Sophia walked in, saw them, and immediately backed out again. "Nope, I forgot my own business. Bella grabbed a folder. Sophia. Sophia's voice floated from the hallway. I support evidence-based romance from a distance. Adriano looked toward the door. Does she always say what she thinks? Unfortunately, she usually says more. He gave a low laugh, and Bella hated how much she liked hearing it in her office, near her grandmother's photographs, and the old coffee maker that had finally earned his respect. It felt too domestic, too possible, too much like a life she had not planned for, because survival had kept taking up all the room. But the danger did not let them forget itself for long. On the 5th day, a health inspector arrived at Romano's with 2 police officers and a complaint about improper food storage. Bella knew it was fake before the inspector opened his clipboard, because his shoes were too clean for a surprise kitchen visit. Rosa nearly threw a towel at him. Bella made everyone step back, smiled sweetly, and produced temperature logs, vendor receipts, refrigeration service records, and a signed inspection report from 3 weeks earlier. The inspector's confidence faded by the minute. When he tried to claim one freezer was out of range, Bella pointed out that he was reading Celsius as Fahrenheit. Sophia coughed so hard she had to leave the room. Nora, standing outside by the alley, took photos of everyone. By dinner, Adriano had the inspector's gambling debts, the name of the man who paid him, and the bank camera showing Carlo's assistant meeting him behind a cigar lounge. Bella added the evidence to the wall. On the 7th day, a gossip account posted a blurred version of the fitting photo with a cruel caption about desperate caterers chasing powerful men. Bella found out because Jonah came upstairs crying with rage. The post had already begun to spread. Her stomach dropped so fast she had to sit down. For a moment, every sound became too sharp. The kitchen below, the traffic outside, Sophia saying her name. The tiny buzz of Bella's phone as strangers reacted to a body they had not been invited to see. Bella looked at the image. Even blurred, she knew herself. There was her shoulder, her hip, the curve of her stomach, the scar, the soft lines that belonged to her life, her body, her survival. She waited for shame to swallow her. It did come, but it came weaker than before, like an old enemy returning to find the locks changed. Then anger rose behind it, steady and clean. "Do not report it yet," she said. Sophia stared. "Bella, take screenshots, preserve the link, get timestamps. We need the account connected to Carlo or Marco." Adriano arrived 9 minutes later, which meant someone had told him before Bella could decide whether to. He walked into her office with a face so controlled that Nora followed behind him like she was ready to tackle her own boss if necessary. Bella looked up from the computer. "I said no violence." His jaw tightened. "You say that often. You need reminders often. I want the name behind the account. So do I. For court. For public exposure. Not so you can make a man disappear behind a fish market." His eyes flashed. "You think I cannot control myself?" Bella stood. "I think you can. That is why I am still talking to you." That stopped him. The room went quiet. Bella softened her voice, not because he needed softness, but because the truth did. "Adriano, I know what they did. I am the one they did it to. Do not make me manage your rage on top of my own pain." His face changed. "Just a little. Enough." He looked away, breathing slowly through his nose. When he looked back, the anger was still there, but it had been leashed. "You are right." Bella blinked. That was suspiciously mature. It hurt. Growth often does. Adriano almost smiled, but his eyes stayed serious. "Tell me what to do." She should not have loved those words. Not loved. No, that was too large and too soon and too foolish. But something in her warmed dangerously. "Find the account owner," she said, quietly. We added to the reveal. "We?" "Yes, we. Do not look so pleased." "I am not pleased." "You look like a wolf being invited indoors." "That sounds pleased. It sounds housebroken." This time he laughed. Not much, but enough that the office loosened around them. Enough that Sophia, standing in the doorway with a flash drive, whispered, "This is unbearable," and then handed Bella the saved post. The gossip account vanished that night. Not because Adriano touched it, because Bella filed a copyright and privacy complaint with attached evidence. Then Sofia flooded the platform with formal notices, so beautifully written they sounded like they wore heels. But before it disappeared, the account made one mistake. It logged in from a private club near the river, one of Adriano's clubs, a club managed by a man loyal to Marco Bellini. The chain closed tighter. By the time Victoria's council dinner arrived, Bella had enough evidence to ruin several men, terrify a lawyer, and make a federal investigator cancel weekend plans. But Adriano insisted the council had to see enough with their own eyes first. Victoria's power did not come only from secrets, it came from reputation. She was old Morty blood. She knew every family debt, every quiet marriage arrangement, every buried favor. If Adriano accused her privately, she would turn it into a family dispute. If Bella exposed her publicly, with documents, recordings, payment trails, and Victoria's own people standing close enough to deny badly, the room would shift. Not because the men in it were good. Bella had no romantic beliefs about rooms full of powerful criminals and wealthy investors. The room would shift because no one liked a losing side once the evidence started breathing. The second gala was smaller than the charity event, but colder. The Morty estate looked different that night. Less soft gold, more silver and glass. No children's hospital videos. No donors pretending kindness. This was a council dinner dressed as a lakefront investment reception, with private security at every entrance and men in expensive suits watching every door as if betrayal had a reservation. Bella's staff handled the food because cancelling would have told Victoria too much, but Bella had changed the assignments herself. No young servers in private rooms. No one working alone. Jonah stayed near Rosa. Sofia ran the command station from the event office with 3 laptops and the expression of a woman prepared to become a felony if necessary. Bella arrived in red, not quiet red, not polite red. Deep, bright, unapologetic red that wrapped around every curve she had once been told to hide. The dress had a wide neckline, fitted waist, and soft skirt that moved when she walked. Her arms were bare. Her scar was not visible, but she knew it was there under the fabric, and for once, the knowledge did not make her want to disappear. It made her feel real. Her hair fell in dark waves over one shoulder. Her lipstick matched the dress. When she looked in the mirror before leaving Romano's, her hands trembled once. Then Rosa came up behind her, adjusted the back of the dress, and said, "Your grandmother would have told the whole room to make space." Bella had nearly cried. Now she stood at the entrance to the Morty ballroom, holding a small clutch that contained a flash drive, a backup recorder, and one emergency cannoli shell, because Sofia claimed symbols mattered. Adriano waited near the inner doors. He wore black again, of course, because apparently the man believed color was something that happened to other people. But when he saw Bella, his expression changed so openly that the guard beside him looked away, like he had witnessed something private. Bella stopped in front of him. "Careful, Morty. You look impressed." "I am." The answer was too direct. It landed low in her chest. She lifted her chin. "No dramatic compliments. I need to stay focused." His gaze moved over her face, not down her body, unless her eyes gave him permission. That was another thing she noticed, and tried not to feel. "Then I will say only this. They wanted you ashamed." Bella looked toward the ballroom, where Victoria's guests moved like pieces on a board. "Yes, they failed." Her throat tightened. "Yes." Adriano held out his arm, then paused before she touched it, asking without words. Bella smiled a little. Then she took it. They entered together, not him leading, not her behind him, side by side. The room noticed. Of course it did. Rooms like that survived on noticing. Marco saw first. His smirk appeared automatically, then faltered when he saw the dress, Adriano's arm, and Bella's face. Carlo Ventresca looked at her clutch, then away. Victoria stood near the center of the room, beneath a chandelier shaped like falling ice. She watched Bella approach with a smile that could have chilled soup. "Isabella," Victoria said warmly. "How brave of you to come." Bella smiled back. "Victoria, how expected of you to say that." Adriano made a small sound beside her that only Bella heard. Victoria's eyes flickered toward him, then returned to Bella. "I was concerned after that unfortunate online unpleasantness. Women can be so cruel to themselves when attention turns sharp." Bella kept smiling. "I have found men are usually cruel enough. No need for me to help." Carlo's mouth tightened. Marco looked amused again, though his eyes were not calm. Victoria touched the pearls at her throat. "Still, I admire resilience. A woman in your position must cling to dignity wherever she can find it." There it was, the knife wrapped in silk. Bella tilted her head. "Funny. I was thinking the same thing about you." The air changed. Adriano's fingers flexed once under her hand. Victoria's smile thinned. "I hope tonight can settle our little misunderstanding. Carlo has prepared a generous proposal for your family property. More generous than most would consider wise, honestly, given the condition of the pier." Carlo stepped forward with a folder, all smooth manners and dead eyes. "Temporary management only," he said. "A practical solution. You would retain ownership, of course. We would handle repairs, access, maintenance, insurance. Remove the burden from your shoulders." Bella looked at the folder, but did not take it. "A burden from my shoulders. How kind." "Very kind," Victoria said. "Your business has struggled. No shame in accepting help before pride causes damage." Bella thought of the inspection, the gossip post, the stolen photo, the men laughing in the sunroom. She thought of her grandmother's hands kneading dough before sunrise, her grandfather buying a useless pier because he believed beauty could be built later. She thought of every person who had looked at her body and assumed she was already halfway defeated. Then Bella accepted the folder. Marco's shoulders eased. Victoria's smile warmed. Adriano stayed perfectly still beside her. Bella opened the folder slowly. "Do you mind if I read it?" Carlo chuckled. "Of course not, though it is standard." Bella looked up. "Carlo, you keep using that word like it has magical powers." A few people nearby turned. "Good." Bella read the first page, then the second, then the third. She let the silence stretch until Victoria's smile began to harden at the edges. Finally, Bella lifted her eyes. "Attachment C is here this time." Carlo's face changed by almost nothing. "Almost, yes," he said, "as requested." "And the emergency extension clause?" "A normal protection." "For whom?" Victoria stepped in gently. "Isabella, perhaps this is not the place for legal confusion." Bella smiled. "Oh, I agree. Confusion would be terrible in front of witnesses." More heads turned. Adriano released her arm, not to leave her, but to give her both hands free. That mattered too. Bella closed the folder and looked around the room. Her heart was beating so hard she could feel it in her throat, her wrists, the backs of her knees. Fear was there. Of course fear was there. Only fools thought courage meant being empty of fear. Bella felt every inch of it. But fear had walked into the room with her. It did not get to drive. "May I have everyone's attention?" she asked. Victoria laughed softly. "This is unnecessary." Bella walked toward the small platform near the musicians, where a microphone waited for toasts and announcements. Marco moved as if to intercept her. Adriano turned his head, and Marco stopped. Bella stepped onto the platform. The room quieted unevenly. Some people looked amused, others annoyed, a few curious. Victoria looked calm, but her eyes had sharpened into points. Carlo whispered something to Marco. Adriano moved to the side of the platform, visible but not blocking her. Sophia, from the event office, sent a message to Bella's phone. "Ready." Bella took the microphone. For a second, she saw herself from outside her body. Fat caterer. Red dress. Mafia ballroom. Men waiting for her to embarrass herself. Women waiting to see if she would cry. Victoria waiting to turn her into proof that Adriano had lost control of his own house. Bella smiled. "I was told tonight was about a generous offer," she said. "A rescue, really. Temporary management rights for Romano Pier, because apparently my poor little family property has become too much for me to handle." A few polite chuckles moved through the room. Bella let them. "I have heard that kind of thing a lot in my life. People love calling control a rescue. They love calling theft a partnership. They love calling a woman emotional when she notices the hand reaching for her pocket." The chuckles died. Victoria stepped forward. "Isabella, this is not appropriate." Bella looked at her. "You know, I thought the same thing when your people stole my private fitting photo." The room went silent so quickly it felt like glass breaking without sound. Marco's face drained of color. Carlo went still. Adriano did not move, but Bella felt his attention like a shield behind her, not around her, behind her, right where she had allowed it. Victoria's smile vanished. "I beg your pardon." "No, you don't." Bella lifted her phone. "Marco Bellini, did you steal or distribute a private photo from my dress fitting?" Marco laughed. "Badly. What the hell is this? A question. You are making accusations because your feelings were hurt." Bella nodded slowly. "There it is. Feelings. I wondered how long it would take." Victoria spoke to the room, voice calm and sad. "This is exactly what I feared. Miss Romano has been under great strain. Public attention can be difficult for someone unprepared for it." Bella looked at Sophia through the glass panel above the far doors and gave one small nod. Every screen in the ballroom turned on. Marco's voice filled the room. The fat caterer, the dress, the photo, the pier, embarrassment first, rescue second. The words poured into the ballroom with perfect clarity. Men looked at Marco. Women looked at Bella. Carlo closed his eyes for half a second. Victoria did not move, but her face lost enough color to show the first crack. Bella let the recording play longer than comfortable. Then she stopped it. "My body was not the scandal," she said. "Your plan was." The first document appeared on the screens. The original vendor contract. The altered version. The missing attachment. The emergency clause highlighted in red. Bella clicked the remote with a steady hand. "This is the offer Carlo Ventresca wanted me to sign at the first gala. This is the revised one from tonight. These are the shell companies tied to airlock logistics. These are payments routed through dock repair firms that inspected Romano Pier without my approval. These are dates matching private meetings between Marco Bellini, Carlo Ventresca, and representatives of Victoria Morty." The screen changed again. Company names, payment trails, security images, the gossip account login, the health inspection payment, the fake complaint, the blurred post. Murmurs spread through the room, low and dangerous. Carlo stepped forward. "These documents are being misrepresented." Bella pointed the remote at him. "I was hoping you'd say that." Sophia changed the screen. Carlo's signature appeared beside a transfer authorization, then another, then an email instructing an assistant to prepare a pressure packet on Isabella Romano. The phrase was highlighted. Pressure packet. Bella had hated reading it the first time. Now she loved watching Carlo stare at it like it had grown teeth. Victoria's voice cut through the room. "Enough." Bella turned to her. Victoria looked at Adriano, not Bella. "You are allowing this?" Adriano's answer was quiet. "I am listening." "That is not leadership." "No," Bella said into the microphone. "That is the part you never learned." Victoria's eyes snapped to her. Bella stepped down from the platform, still holding the microphone. The red dress moved around her like flame. She walked toward Victoria slowly, not because she was not afraid, but because every step gave the room time to watch her refuse to shrink. "You built an entire plan around one assumption," Bella said, "that I could be shamed into silence, that if enough people laughed at my body, I would become grateful for anyone who offered me a way out. That I would sign whatever you put in front of me, just to stop being seen. Do not flatter yourself. You were a convenient weakness. Bella's smile softened. No, I was bait you mistook for prey. The room made a sound then. Not applause, not shock exactly. A shift. Adriano's eyes were on her, and Bella could feel the pride in them. It steadied her more than she wanted to admit. Victoria lifted her chin. You have no idea what you are interfering with. I have a very good idea, Bella said. Project Airlock was designed to reroute cargo through my pier, create losses under Morty territory, and make it appear Adriano had lost control of his shipping access. You plan to weaken him in front of the council, then offer yourself as the old blood solution to the new blood problem. You did not just betray me, you betrayed him. You betrayed every person in this room who thought your loyalty was expensive but real. Men along the council table began whispering. That was when Victoria finally looked afraid, not of Bella's anger, of the room believing her. Adriano stepped forward now, not in front of Bella, beside her. Marco Bellini, he said. Marco's face had gone grey. You used my house, my name, my roots and my people for a private betrayal. Boss, I can explain. No, you can be silent. Marco's mouth closed. From this moment, Adriano said, you hold no rank in any Morty operation. Every account tied to you is frozen. Every man loyal to you will choose again before sunrise. Choose poorly, and I will consider that answer final. Marco looked around for support and found men suddenly fascinated by the floor. Adriano turned to Carlo. Ventresca, every legal authority you held under my family ends tonight. The council will receive your files. So will every agency you paid to look away. Carlo tried to smile. That would create complications for many people in this room. Adriano's expression did not change. Then many people should prepare. A ripple moved through the council. Victoria stared at Adriano with cold disbelief. You would expose family business because of her? Adriano looked at Bella then, and for one heartbeat, the room seemed to fall away. No, he said, because of me. She only made sure I stopped pretending rot was tradition. Bella's throat tightened. Victoria's face hardened, the final mask dropping. You are weak. Adriano's voice was very soft. You taught me power meant control. You were wrong. Bella looked at him. He did not look back right away. His eyes stayed on his aunt, and for the first time since Bella had met him, she saw the exhaustion beneath the danger clearly. This was not just betrayal. This was family. Old lessons. Old rooms. Old voices telling him that mercy was foolish, restraint was weakness, and love was only leverage wearing perfume. Then he turned to Bella, and the exhaustion eased. Victoria saw it too. That might have been what broke her. You think she loves you, Victoria said, laughing once. She loves what you can do for her. The room went quiet again. Bella lifted the microphone. Victoria, I threatened this man with a dessert fork before I knew he had useful qualities. A few shocked laughs escaped around the room. Adriano looked down, and this time his smile was real enough that people saw it. Bella continued, but since we are discussing love in front of criminals, lawyers and investors with very suspicious tax situations, let me be clear, I do not belong to Adriano Morty. My business does not belong to him. My pier does not belong to him. My future does not belong to him. And that is exactly why standing beside him means something. Adriano's smile faded into something deeper. Bella looked at him then, really looked. I choose who stands with me, she said, not because I am cornered, not because I am rescued, because I decide. No one spoke. Then Adriano bowed his head slightly, not like a servant, not like a king, but like a man receiving something sacred he knew he had not earned by force. Victoria had no answer for that, because every weapon she had sharpened required Bella to be ashamed, helpless, or desperate. In front of that room, Bella was none of those things. The rest happened quickly. Security moved. Not wildly, not with chaos, with the smooth force of men who understood the room had changed owners. Marco was escorted out, shouting once before remembering how many people were pretending not to know him. Carlo's phone was taken after he tried to delete files. Victoria did not fight. She only looked at Adriano with hatred dressed as disappointment and said, "Your father would have been ashamed." Adriano looked at her for a long moment. "My mother would not." That silenced her. When they led Victoria out, the ballroom remained still, as if nobody wanted to be the first person caught breathing wrong. Then one of the older councilmen stood. He was small, white-haired, and sharp-eyed. With a cane he seemed too proud to need. He looked at Bella and raised his glass. "To Romano Pier," he said. Another glass lifted, then another. It was not kindness. Bella knew that. It was recognition. In rooms like that, recognition was sometimes the only honest currency. Bella lowered the microphone. Her hands started shaking the moment the room no longer needed her to be steady. Adriano saw. "Bella, I'm okay. I know." That made her look at him. He did not say it like men usually did, as a dismissal. He said it like a fact he believed because she had shown him. Her eyes burned. She handed Sophia the microphone when her friend ran up to her, and Sophia immediately pulled her into a hug so fierce the emergency cannoli shell cracked in Bella's clutch. "You were magnificent," Sophia whispered. "I almost threw up." Magnificent women often do. Rosa appeared next, crying openly and pretending she was not. Jonah hovered behind her, wiping his face with a napkin. Bella laughed and cried at the same time, and for a few minutes the Mafia council, the contracts, the threats, all of it blurred behind the people who had known her before the room did. Her people, her kitchen, her stubborn little life that had refused to go quietly. Adriano did not interrupt. He stood several steps away, giving her the victory before asking for any part of her attention. That might have been when Bella knew, not when he defended Jonah. Not when he looked at the photo without pity. Not when he stood beside her in the ballroom, but when he waited. A month later, Romano Pier no longer looked abandoned. It did not look finished either. Bella refused to pretend restoration was magic. The old boards had to be torn up. Rusted railings came down. Permits took forever. One contractor tried to overcharge her until Bella handed him a spreadsheet so detailed he lowered the price without blinking. Adriano offered to send his own people, and Bella said no before he finished the sentence. Then she hired 2 of his recommended security consultants after interviewing them herself, which he seemed to understand was not the same thing as accepting control. The pier remained hers. The deed stayed in her name. The business account stayed separate. Every contract went through Bella's lawyer, a sharp woman named Denise, who frightened even Adriano a little, which Bella considered a wonderful sign. Airlock logistics collapsed under investigation. Carlo made a deal quickly, proving that loyalty lasted exactly as long as panic allowed. Marco vanished from Chicago's inner rooms. Not dead, as Bella had insisted, but ruined in the ways men like him feared most. No one returned his calls. No club welcomed him. No council table held a chair. His cruelty had needed an audience. Now every audience had become dangerous. Victoria remained alive, wealthy, furious, and powerless enough that this bothered her more than prison ever could. Adriano never told Bella everything that happened behind closed doors, and Bella did not ask for details she did not need. What mattered was simple. The route was closed. Romano Pier was safe. Her name was clear. Her photo was evidence now, not shame. Spring came slowly to the lakefront. Romano's began catering again, with a waiting list for the first time in years. Some people came because they loved the food. Some came because they had heard rumors about the woman who exposed a Mafia conspiracy in a red dress. Bella accepted their money either way. Jonah became official dessert lead and took the job with grave seriousness. Sophia printed a tiny sign for the office that read, No signing while emotional, hungry, or near men named Carlo. Rosa approved. Adriano kept appearing. At first he claimed he was checking security. Then he claimed he had business nearby. Then he stopped pretending and simply came for coffee. Bella mocked his dramatic entrances. He pretended not to enjoy it. He learned to sit in the corner booth without making every customer leave. That took practice. Children were less afraid of him than adults, possibly because children had better instincts or worse survival skills. One little girl asked if he was a vampire because he wore too much black. Bella laughed so hard she nearly dropped a tray. Adriano told the child he was considering beige. The child said that sounded worse. Bella saw him differently in pieces. The way he listened to Rosa's complaints about suppliers as if they were matters of state. The way he stood outside during busy nights because his presence inside made new servers nervous. The way he always asked before touching Bella, even casually, even after the first time she took his hand and did not let go. The way his face changed when she said his name from across a room, as if some locked door inside him opened only for that sound. Their first kiss happened in the alley behind Romano's, which was not romantic except that the moon was out and someone had finally fixed the security light. Bella had been carrying a trash bag because romance rarely respected timing. Adriano took it from her and placed it in the bin without comment. "You cannot keep doing that," she said, taking out trash, making helpfulness look attractive. He stepped closer, then stopped. Always that pause, always the question in his body before his hands made any claim. "Would you like me to stop?" Bella looked up at him. Her heart was calm and wild at once. "No." Adriano's eyes softened. "Would you like me to kiss you?" he asked. Bella smiled. "I thought Mafia boss energy meant you could read minds. It means I have learned when not to pretend." That did it. Bella reached up, caught the front of his black coat, and pulled him down. The kiss was not gentle at first. It was relief, curiosity, hunger after weeks of restraint. Then it slowed, because Adriano slowed it, because Bella's hand softened against his chest, because neither of them wanted the kiss to feel like taking. He kissed her like a man who could command a room, but had no interest in commanding her. Bella kissed him like a woman who had finally stopped apologizing for wanting what she wanted. When they pulled apart, he rested his forehead lightly against hers. "You taste like powdered sugar," he said. "I am a professional. You threatened me with cannoli the night we met. And look how well you turned out." He laughed into the small space between them, and Bella thought, very inconveniently, that she could get used to being someone's joy. By early summer, the first section of Romano Pier reopened. Not as a luxury club, not as a private dock. Bella turned it into exactly what her grandfather had once imagined and her grandmother would have improved. A legal waterfront restaurant and event space with blue railings, warm lights, long wooden tables, and a kitchen designed for feeding people instead of impressing them. The sign read, Romano Pier, in hand-painted letters. On opening night, the lake glittered black and silver under the city lights, and the wind carried the smell of grilled bread, garlic, lemon, and rain from somewhere far off. People came in waves. Neighbors who remembered Lucia Romano, former customers, new clients. A few city officials pretending they had never doubted the permit process. Morty men in suits trying very hard to behave like normal diners. Sophia managed seating with terrifying grace. Rosa cried into a towel and denied it. Jonah carried out the first tray of cannoli like a priest holding treasure. Bella stood near the railing at the edge of the pier, taking it in. For once, she was not fixing something, not checking a list, not hunting a missing clause, just standing there, letting the night exist. Adriano found her there. He did not speak at first. He stood beside her, close enough that their shoulders almost touched, both of them looking out at Lake Michigan. The water moved dark and bright below them. Behind them, laughter rose from the restaurant. Glasses clinked. Someone cheered when Rosa brought out another tray. The city watched from the shore, full of lights and secrets, but for once, it did not feel like it was waiting to take something from her. "You did it," Adriano said. Bella smiled softly. "We did it." He looked at her. She rolled her eyes. "Do not look touched. I said we. I did not sign over management rights. I would not dare." "Good. I trained you." "You did." The quiet that followed was warm. Bella leaned her elbows on the railing. "Do you ever miss it?" "What?" "The old way. Everyone afraid. Everyone obeying before you had to explain. No one asking you to use words like please and boundaries." Adriano was quiet for a while. "Sometimes," he said. Bella appreciated the honesty. Then he continued. "The old way was easier, not better." She looked at him. He watched the water. "Fear is simple. Respect takes longer. Trust takes longer than that." His eyes shifted to her. "But I sleep more now." Bella's heart softened. "You sleep because Rosa bullies you into eating carbs." "That may also be true." She laughed, then looked back at the lake. "I was scared tonight." "I know. Not bad scared, just big scared. Like everything mattered and I could feel all of it." Adriano nodded. "That sounds like living." Bella gave him a side look. That was almost cheerful. "I am trying." "You are very dramatic when trying." "It is my personality, apparently." Mafia boss energy. His mouth curved. "Still not a personality?" "Not by itself. And with loyalty, restraint, good cheekbones, and the ability to follow instructions," Bella pretended to think. "Borderline acceptable." He turned toward her fully. "Isabella." The way he said her full name always changed the air. She faced him. For a moment, neither of them used humor. It was still there, waiting kindly nearby, but it did not cover them. Adriano reached into his coat pocket, and Bella's eyes narrowed at once. "If that is a ring, I will push you into the lake." He froze. Bella stared. His expression shifted. "Adriano." He slowly removed his hand from his pocket. It held a small velvet box. Bella's mouth fell open. "You brought a ring to my opening night. I was not going to give it to you tonight. You took it out. You threatened the lake. It distracted me." Bella put both hands over her face. "You are impossible." "I know." She dropped her hands and pointed at him. "We are not getting engaged tonight." "I know." "Do you?" "Yes. Because this is my business opening, and I love you. But if you turn this into a proposal spectacle, I will become a widow before becoming a wife." Adriano went very still. Bella went very still, too. The words hung between them. "I love you." She had not planned to say them. She had definitely not planned to say them while threatening murder beside a velvet box. But there they were, alive in the lake air. Adriano stared at her like the whole city had gone silent. Bella swallowed. "Well, that came out during a legal warning, but I stand by it." His voice was rough when he answered, "You love me. Do not make me regret it with repetition." He stepped closer. "I love you too." Bella's chest tightened so hard it hurt. Adriano held the velvet box up, then placed it carefully on the railing between them without opening it. "Not tonight. Not unless you ask. Not until you want the question. But I bought it because for the first time in my life, I wanted a future badly enough to be afraid of rushing it." Bella looked at the box. Then at him. The old Bella, the one trained by disappointment, would have made a joke and stepped away. This Bella still made jokes. Obviously, she was not dead, but she no longer needed them to hide every soft thing before it could be touched. She took the box and placed it back in his hand. Adriano's face changed, pain flickering fast and hidden. Bella closed his fingers around it. "Keep it safe. Ask me someday when I am not holding an entire restaurant together with lipstick and fear." His breath left him slowly. "Someday," he said. "Maybe. Maybe is not no. Do not get smug. Too late." She laughed, and he kissed her, softly this time. In full view of the restaurant, the lake, Sophia, Rosa, Jonah, half of Chicago's most suspicious men, and probably 3 people who would gossip before dessert. Bella did not care. Let them look. Let them talk. Let them learn the difference between being seen and being owned. When the kiss ended, Sophia shouted from the doorway, "If this is a proposal, I need warning. I have opinions about timing." Bella shouted back, "It is not a proposal." Rosa yelled, "Coward." Adriano looked deeply offended. "Your staff is aggressive." "Our staff," Bella corrected, then held up a finger. "Emotionally, not legally." He smiled. "Understood." Later, after the last guest left and the lights along the pier glowed soft against the water, Bella stood once more at the railing. Her feet ached. Her lipstick had faded. Her red dress from the gala hung now in the office upstairs, cleaned and sealed, not as a costume of victory but as a reminder. Tonight she wore a simple black dress and comfortable shoes, because growth did not require suffering in heels. Adriano came to stand beside her with 2 cups of coffee from the kitchen. She took one. "If this is decaf, we are finished." "It is not, good man." The lake moved below them, whispering against the rebuilt posts. Bella thought about the woman she had been in the elevator weeks ago, carrying crushed cannoli and rage, telling a dangerous stranger to move. She had thought she was walking into trouble. Maybe she had. But she had also walked into a truth she had spent years earning. Her body had never been the weakness. Her softness had never been the weakness. Her warmth, her laughter, her sighs, her kindness, her stubborn love for a failing business and a broken pier, none of it had made her small. The weakness had belonged to the people who thought shame could do the work of chains. Adriano looked out at the water. "Are you afraid of what comes next?" Bella thought about it. There would be more trouble. Of course there would. Men like Adriano did not live quiet lives, and women like Bella did not suddenly stop attracting impossible problems just because the lights were pretty. There would be council politics, legal filings, restaurant disasters, family ghosts, debt memories, late nights, hard talks, and probably at least one more man who thought a contract could hide a crime from her. But there would also be coffee, laughter, Sophia's terrible commentary, Rosa's bread, Jonah guarding desserts like state secrets, Adriano knocking before entering, the lake at night, her name on the pier, her body standing exactly where it belonged. Bella smiled. "I accidentally walked into an elevator with a Mafia boss and survived," she said. "I think I can handle whatever comes next." Adriano turned toward her, his face softened by city light and something deeper than pride. "You did more than survive, Isabella Romano," he said. "You took over the room." Bella looked back at the glowing restaurant, the open doors, the people cleaning up inside, the blue sign above the entrance, and the lake spreading endless beyond the pier her grandfather had once believed in, when belief made no sense at all. For once, no part of her argued. She leaned into Adriano's side, not because she needed holding up, but because she chose the warmth. "Yes," Bella said softly, "I did.